Palworld is way more than a Pokemon clone. I've heard several people online call this game Pokemon with guns, but I think that does the game a huge disservice. If anything, this game is more akin to Ark, but instead of having dinosaurs, we have cutesy critters that just so happen to look like Pokemon. Who the hell are we kidding? They're Pokemon. But I don't know, it still didn't feel like a clone to me. Now, at first glance, sure, I can understand that sentiment, but getting your hands on the game is where you'll see that they differ. Mechanics-wise, Palworld is an amalgamation of a number of games. I saw some Breath of the Wild DNA mixed in with a little Division, some Ark, and of course, Pokemon. And it manages to pull off everything pretty swimmingly. Though the story of the game is pretty much non-existent, it seems more of like a backdrop for your adventures as opposed to like a narrative, if that makes any sense. Well, who really plays survival games for the story, right? I'm talking like I'm a survival game veteran, and I'm so not. I think this game manages to pull off something we've yet to see in Pokemon outside of Arceus, and in some ways, this still does it a lot better. And that's seeing the creatures in the open world. Just being. Encountering them doesn't feel like an ambush. Stumbling upon new creatures is always exciting, though that might change because I'm still fresh in the game, but so far, discovery and exploration are a blast. Catching pals is also very fun, making sure their health is low before you whip out your pal sphere, throw it out, and experience the tension of the possibilities of them breaking free. Now, while that is the classic Pokemon formula, Palworld looks to shake things up a whole lot with its survival mechanics, which is where I think the game really shines. Initially, I had footage from both Xbox and PC, but for some reason my Xbox footage got damaged. I'm not really sure why. So we're mainly looking at the PC right now, if you care for that sort of thing. To preface, I'm not what you would call a target demographic by any means, but I do think my perspective is that of a person who's jumping into a game like this for the first time without any prior knowledge or experience in this particular genre, which I found very easy to jump into. You tend to learn pretty quickly what the expectations are, and you slowly learn how to navigate. From the moment I started playing the game, I became very invested in the world, and I was constantly trying to figure out all the things that were possible. And as previously mentioned, I don't have much experience, nor do I tend to have much affinity for survival games. But this game somehow managed to win me over. It had an almost choose your own adventure kind of feel to it. I legit lost I don't know how many hours just crafting and building my base, only to then learn I had to abandon it just to play with my friends. But more on that later. As a single player experience, the game keeps you enthralled in its expansive universe, which is what you want from a game like this. Combat mechanics are similar to that of The Division, while the evade is more of Dark Souls, but I'd love to see more when it comes to melee. Also, I wouldn't concern myself with shooting right out the gate, because you don't get that until like further up. When it comes to the graphics, Palworld looks beautiful and vibrant. I love the cartoony art style, which makes you sometimes forget you're actually killing a lot of these creatures. The density of the world is also pretty great. You can look pretty far out and see the wildlife and other background elements like the mountains and the trees, which all look explorable. It's pretty impressive. It's very similar to Fortnite, which I'm sure will attract a lot of kids to the game. Now that I think about it, I wonder how many of the 5 million and counting are kids looking to get their catch-em-all fix. Yes, this game sold 5 million copies in 3 days, and now the second most playable paid game ever on Steam, behind PUBG. Also, to put things further into context, this game has sold faster than PS4's first-party exclusive in the same time frame. That is a huge accomplishment. Pick whatever survival game you're familiar with, and I'm sure you'll be able to find some similarities here. There are several things you need to manage: your hunger, your pal's hunger, and the productivity of your base, just to name a few. Some pals will slack off, or if hungry, won't work as well. What I like is how they integrated the use of your pals. You can use them in battle, at your base, or even for traversal. Hell, you want to pet them? You can. I think it builds morale or whatever. Anyways, just like Pokemon, there are different elemental types which can be used at your base for certain jobs. Like, for example, Leaf Monk is a grass type, which means they have the ability to plant, gather, and even make medicine. Quinguillet is a water/ice type, which can water your plants. And Foxsparks is good for lighting torches. A lot of pals have the handiwork skill, which means they can help you with other tasks outside of their elemental abilities. Everything you do is in service of gaining XP so you can level up. That includes expanding your base, your skills, and your pal skills. Palworld has a very extensive skill tree by way of the technology hub. That's where you'll do research for new clothes, new armor, new weapons, and even new gear for your base. In regards to enemy types, there are bandits that could also raid your base, tower bosses, which could be the equivalent of a gym leader that you have to challenge, the occasional angry pal that you have to take on, or even boss type pals you encounter on your adventures. Some are even marked on the map. Now, although I'm having a lot of fun with this game, it's not without its flaws. For starters, I'm not a fan of the sound design. It sounded very low quality, as if it was recorded from a microphone just to get put in the game. From the background music to the sound effects, it just sounded very muddy. I feel like they were kind of going for the Breath of the Wild, but it just didn't work for me. I would also like to see some PvP elements. Like, I can picture it, like me defending my base from other actual players would be an incredible experience. But to be fair, it is something that is on the devs' radar because I saw it in their FAQ. Also, remember when I talked about me abandoning my base just to play with my friends? I hate the fact that it feels so separate playing in other friends' worlds. And I get it, it's to maintain a fair user experience, right? But I still feel like there's something that could be done that could help us feel a lot more connected. For example, have us be able to bring back some experience from online play would be a great addition. Game was a bit janky at times. I had a few experiences. For example, there was this one time I was trying to catch a pal and the ball kept dropping and I was throwing it directly at the thing. The game is still in early access, so the hope is that they'll iron out a lot of these bugs before long. But this game has massive potential. With what they started with, plus the conversation of potential crossplay, this game is shaping up to be one of the biggest survival games out. Shit, it got me liking survival games. But yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts on Palworld. What are your thoughts? Comment below and let me know. Also, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. With all that said, it's been your boy Cash, and like always, play on, player. Peace.